What's up? What's up? What's up, Kingdom Diplomats? This your boy Tariq. I'll be back here in about 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Let's just say I'll get started. I ain't going nowhere. If you can, I'd take a notepad and pen, a piece of paper, get some chalk right on the driveway. Take your stick right in the dirt like you used to do when you were little. 'Alright, guys, got about 30 seconds to a minute. 1 minute, 1 minute. Thirty seconds, guys. 30 seconds. All right, all right. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Kingdom Diplomat Podcast. Again, this is your boy Tariq. If you're new in here, welcome, welcome, welcome. You are welcome, right? So obviously you guys know my house rules. Zero tolerance for anything that's unrighteous. Meaning doesn't line up with the laws that I lay down in my law book of my podcast. Make sure everything, any suggestions, any questions is kosher. I appreciate that. This is open to kids also too. But I wanted to hop on here. Obviously, I'm not in my office. I'm on the road, as I guess you could say, or just out and about, and that's one of the things I like doing. Just kind of getting out of my environment. Yeah, if you're new, please go ahead and subscribe and like. I believe, or shall I say, I know this is going to give you value. Hopefully, you guys know my background. I was mentored by some thousandaires, I guess you can say, and some millionaires, multimillionaires for about 15 years, and learned a heck of a lot about business, life. I mean, you name it, all different areas. Not perfect people, nowhere near it. That's a facade, doesn't exist. And I've been behind the closed doors before, and they're not. But overall, I would say that they have a good heart. One of the words that just came to my mind, I wasn't planning on talking about this, is a word called humility. Now, unfortunately, the world, and even I myself years ago, the depiction of humility means to, be a doormat. But when you look up the word, and again, that's etymology, you have to understand something that it has to do with forgiveness. That's number one. And also, number two, it has to do with being teachable, right? And if you notice, if you talk to any little kid, right, or you just listen to them, and let's just say, you hit them in the head by accident or something like that. You're carrying some, oh, I'm sorry. And, they said, and usually, most of the time, majority of the time, 99% of the time, after they say, ow, or something like that, or even cry, whatever, depending upon how hard it is, they'll say, I forgive you, or, don't worry about it. And they'll act like nothing happened 5 seconds later. But if you do that to an adult, being in this world 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 plus years, a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, you'll get a firestorm. But that word humility means to be, again, forgiving, not just of other people, which is extremely important, but also yourself, right? Because that plus being teachable is part of being childlike. So you're not supposed to grow old mentally, and then obviously, we're all, we got cells that are being regenerated every 7 to 15 years, so we're aging, and you can slow that process down. There's a myriad of things that you can do to do that, which I was doing earlier today. But yeah, so you have to understand that term humility. So hopefully I helped you out with that. It's called etymology. And that means the study of words, the origin of words, because you said, what does that got to do with me? It's very simple. The right side of your brain thinks in pictures, okay? And so the left side of the brain pulls in the word, right? And so that is very, 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 that's extremely vitally important in life. Just success in any area of life, you need to know the origin of words, right? So it's a constant thing because, things, how can I put this? Things in life, the people who are trying to control masses of people and very deceptive and lying and stealing and murdering, all the things that you see that's going out, whether it be in your neighborhood, whether it be your town, your city, your country, and beyond, it's all a play on words. Okay, that's what I realized, and I'm not the only one. There's billions of people that realize that it's a play on words. One word can mean, the same word can mean two different things 30 years apart. You talk to somebody back in the 60s and 70s and say, hey man, give me some bread. Or back then, that means give me some money, right? You say that today, people are thinking about food. So there's two different images that come across your mind. So anyway, I don't know why I got off on that, but somebody need to hear that. So that's one of the things I learned just by reading quite a bit. I don't know how many hours, but I'd say over 25 hours just reading outside the job, outside the businesses, family, all this stuff like that. I may have an equivalent of maybe 10 PhDs or something like that, right? Of all the hours and reading and applying and trying and failing, adjusting. And here's a good segue into this. Here's what I want to get into. So I talked about this last week, the best kept secret, even though I didn't mention it. And the best kept secret is you. So not a one of you viewing this, no matter what your intentions are. I know there's people on here that who are literally wanting to plug in to learn. There's other people on here who have bad intentions. There's other, you're welcome to. There's other people on there who are just indifferent. They're just kind of scrolling through their phone and they're looking for something exciting and entertainment-y, as they would say. But you know, and they may just keep on scrolling. That's fine. You know, they'll come across this sooner or later. They'll come across one of my books or whatever, me talking, travel, whatever it is that I'm, you know, getting into to help out people, not just around my area, but also people around my country and beyond. Um, so nobody is an accident. Okay. Need I get into that? Hopefully, you understand just regular biology, that you're not an accident, right? You're one of one, okay? And you can look at it biologically in many different ways. You're one of one. You're one of a kind, okay? So once you were created, doesn't matter if you're a twin, triplet, quadruplet, quintuplet, plus, doesn't matter. Each and every one of you have your own specific DNA, and that's just the outer shell of you, right? I don't have time to get into that, but you got the soulish realm and you got the spirit. So, but here's what I wanted to get into, and this is kind of piggybacking off of last week, is that many people, the best kept secret, obviously, is you. Okay, so within you, obviously, I mentioned to you many times, I've learned through the mentorship and my mentorship and mentorship I give to people, that there's 5 vital, important questions that we have to know. Okay. And there are people out here who are rich. There are people who are out here poor. There are people who are here at different levels in life. And even rich people haven't figured out this. You know, maybe they figured out, and it depends on how they got their wealth too. Well, it depends on how they got the money, right? Even though money doesn't exist, but I'm not going to get into that. It's just an idea. So, um, you know, some people got it the wrong way, you know. And when you see a lot of those mega yachts and all that stuff like that, most of them, they did a lot of stealing, murdering, lying, cheating, destroying, all that type of stuff. And don't worry, there's an account for that also too. There's a cup that's filling up for them individually and as a group and everything like that. But here's what I wanted to talk about. So the best kept secret, those 5 questions: who are you? That's identity. Where you from, your origin, right? Hopefully you don't believe that you're a monkey. Hopefully you didn't fall for that trap, that you're an amoeba. You know, where are you from? Yes, I'm black. That's what I am, but that's not who I am. Okay, I said who I am is identity. Okay, and then what I can do, obviously, that's talent, skills, abilities. You know, what I'm supposed to do, what you're supposed to do on this planet is very simple. You have the tools already. You've already been equipped with it already. And the last but not least is where you're going. That's the vision. So I've already said that, you know, sight is a function of the eye. I don't trust my eyes. And what I mean by that is that you can, a certain situation can happen and a lot of people react because we're trained to react, but you need to learn how to respond. Okay. And when you can see, you respond better, I learned, when you're bold. Well, what's the equation of bold? 2 things. You should write this down. Number 1 is conviction. Okay. Belief. Number 2 is the right kind of knowledge. So you can have the knowledge. Let me turn that down. So you can have the knowledge. You can have the knowledge in life. I learned, it took me a long time to learn this. But you got to have the right kind of knowledge, right? I don't care about all the indifferent and the negative stuff, right? At least the majority of it. Some of it may be negative, but I need to know it, right, in order to turn it positive. Okay. But the stuff that just is a time stealer, because you got to remember, time will never get back, right? And so, you know, there's a lot of people that have objectives and they're persistent, right? Many people are very persistent, whether it be good or bad, right, with certain things. But you have to add, you have to plus it and eventually multiply it. So you have to plus it first, you have to add to it, and then which is experimentation, you have to find a new approach, right? So a lot of people think that it's easy to find a new approach, you know, or they're persistent and they're just hitting it hard and hitting it hard and hitting it hard 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 years, 5 years, And it never dawned on them to say, hey, wait a minute, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. Maybe I need to try a different approach, right? And within that, you have to say to yourself, here's a trick, okay? So this right here programs this, okay? Or okay, let me back up. So this right here, the words out of your mouth, reprograms this. Re means again, I learned. But the information, the external information out there, right? Sound, frequency, media, that comes through our eye gates and our ear gates. You know, our eye gates and our ear gates are kind of like they're kind of like obviously they're gates, but there's another way I wanted to describe it. See, in war, whoever took over the harbor took over the territory, okay? Because especially actually, let me qualify that, it should be the deepest harbor. If you could take over the deepest harbor, most likely you can take over the land. Okay, and there's a difference between land and real estate. Real estate is from the top up, land is from the top down, because land cannot be bought or sold. So that's a whole nother topic. It has to be granted, right? And all land and everything you can see was not created by mankind. I can assure you of that. So we actually do not have the creation rights to that. Okay, we're just managers or stewards. Okay. So you got to add persistence, and then you got to add experimentation. So here's one of the keys I learned about experimenting when I'm trying to reach a goal, whether it doesn't matter which area of life, is that if I couldn't get it, so here's what I learned. I could go take a walk, you know, I can take a bike ride, I could, you know, do something with the kids. I can go somewhere, okay? I can just take a nap, right? You know, get into the shower, relax for an hour or two or something like that, come back. Sometimes you need to come back within an hour. Sometimes you need to take a day off, right? And go do something fun, okay? See, a lot of people, listen to me now, a lot of people think that success, and you can figure out ideas and success in life is by putting your face in the papers. That doesn't exist, okay? Because a lot of times we're too close to the problem, right? We're right here to the problem, so we can't be creative, okay? You're a creative type being, okay? Amazing being, okay? Magnificent, smart, intelligent, you know, but, you know, and I know, hey, we've all been through it. We've made a lot of mistakes before. We've done dumb things and everything like that. That's because when we're born, we have to assimilate our environment. So people who are up to no good understand that, hey, if I want to change a generation, right, like the school system we grew up in from 1953 on, that's Rockefeller education, who trained us to be employees. Employees mean slave, okay? Hey, I'm just telling you like it is. Look it up, okay? And, you know, corporate slaves. So, you know, that's just what it is, okay? So, you know, when you look at some of the quotes, he was like, man, I don't need a nation. Now, you got to keep in mind, he wasn't an American citizen, right? But as the Rothschilds, the great-great-great-grandfather said, he said, listen, I'm just paraphrasing for both of these. So Rockefeller basically said, I don't need a nation of thinkers, I need a nation of doers, you know, worker bees, okay? You've seen that before. You've seen, you know, nature pictures. Rothschild, and that's not really their name. They probably changing their name as people find out more of their schemes and everything, and that they're just only two of the 13 families. But anyway, so the Rothschilds basically said that I don't care what laws that man pass, right? Doesn't matter. If I control the money, doesn't matter. What is he basically saying? It doesn't matter. I can do what I can bribe, I can blackmail, I can do whatever, murder, lie, cheat, deceive. I can just pay other people to do my evil, right? Why do you think evil's done in the dark, as far as light and dark, right? Behind the scenes, covering up, right? And when you train a society like that, decade after decade after decade, they pass that along to their kids. It's called generational curses, right? And they exist in different areas of life, if not all areas of life. Um, Let me move on to the next thing. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. You get the gist of what I'm saying. Okay. So when you say that there is a way, right, to whatever objective you've written down, so you got to write down your objectives. Hey, I want to lose weight. I want to gain weight, but I want to do it the healthy way. I want to have a better marriage. I want to do this with my kids. I want to have this relationship better with my siblings, or whatever it is. Get the right kind of knowledge. Because listen, what I learned is that everything in life is based on principles, laws, and when you figure out the principles and the laws of that, it's automatic success. Now, here's the thing: when you could do it for a year, 2 or 3, but if you stop doing those principles, then guess what? It's easy to go back to where you were before. Okay, so I met a gentleman one time. He was 72 years young, and muscular guy, about 6 feet, man, cognitive ability, very sharp, everything like that. And he didn't really look like he was in 72. He probably maybe looked like he could pass for maybe 60, somewhere around there, maybe late 50s. He really didn't have any gray hair on his head. I've seen people in their early 40s and 30s and 20s that had a bunch of gray hair. He didn't really have any gray hair. He was rock solid. And we talked for quite a bit, man. And I tell you what, just listening to him, man, he's a very wise guy, and learned a lot of things, and done a lot of things. Obviously, he regretted, as we all have before. But I'm telling you what, man, I learned just listening to him, man. And I probably should have shut up even more. But long story short, what I learned from him is I learned about being, persistent. I learned about taking myself out. His mom had to take him out when he was younger out of a bad environment, put him in a great environment, and it changed his whole perspective, right? Even though he had a not good environment as far as his mentality, how he seen himself, just because the environment was different. And he was like, you know what? I got somebody in my corner, my mother, and I can really do something. I can make something of myself, right? And yeah, man, I enjoyed talking with him. It was a pleasure. But anyway, so the second thing, as I said before, is you have to tell yourself there is a way. There's something about telling, even if you don't believe that there's a way to achieve something, you come across a problem or whatever, and you just can't see a way out of it. 50, 100 people, 50 million people, 500 million people say, no, there's no way, there's no way. See, it doesn't matter if they believe it. It matters as if you believe it. And when you say there is a way, you keep telling yourself there is a way, there is a way, there is a way. I guarantee you, sooner or later, and you start looking for it, your supercomputer that does 20,000 trillion calculations will figure out a way, right? A lot of the discoveries that people have discovered, they did it wrong 10,000 times, right? If you want to become not an expert, but a professional, you do something 10,000 times, right? Just learning something over and over and over again, reading 10,000 hours, learning, maybe it's a craft you want to learn or something like that. Maybe it's a talent or ability you want to learn. That's something that's obviously going to, you're going to need to put some hours in. And I'm telling you, when you say there is a way, no matter what it is, and you keep working at it, that belief will trigger something in your mind. You start attracting, okay? You start attracting is the key word. Attracting. It's a magnet, okay? Laws are like magnets, okay? Nobody can look in the sky and see this big, huge 747 carrying 300 plus passengers and logically thinking, saying, there's no way in the world that thing can fly. But you have the law of gravity. So man had to discover the law of gravity, right? But also he had to discover the law of lift through experimentation, persistent experimentation. So you guys understand that. Okay, so in closing, because I got to get out of here. okay, is here's another thing right here I want to talk to you guys about. So you got to have a clear vision, okay? You have to write down what your objective is. Write it in detail. I don't care where you are right now and especially where you've been. If you desire to change, right? You want to change, and your want will turn to a desire. So what I'm doing is I'm laying the foundation of how to do that and what I did. Okay. You said, well, man, I'm new here. Why do I want to listen to you? Okay. So I told you this. I'll tell you real quick, and I'll go on and I'm done. Okay. So, all right, multiple businesses. So I was doing I was taking a class, and a trading class, and buddy called me up. I know him very well. And we were in business with another project, and he was like, man, listen, there's this big, huge project, national project, man. This is going on. This is going on. I said, really? Okay. I said, all right. I said, give me about another 2-3 weeks or so. And I ended up doing that. I think it might have been about a month or two later on. So I kind of postponed the class, and I probably only had maybe about 35 to 37 days or something like that. I wish I had a little bit more time to do it, knowing what I know now. But anyway, so in about 35 days, I was able to build some momentum. Actually, it was probably about 21 days. And so I said, okay, there's a way I can do it. I kept saying that. And I had the boldness, I had the confidence. Why? Because I had the right kind of knowledge, and I had the conviction. My self-image was enough to where I can say, I can achieve, this is my goal right here, or my objective, okay? And so in about 35 to 38 days, I've been able to create enough income to where most people in America, I think the household income average is about 55,000 or something like that. But I was able to do that and much more in about 30 something days. So that right there was the most I've ever created in that short amount of time. And what floored me about it is that I was like, man, why did it take me so long? If I had the same, I could have did this, and a lot could have been, and so don't beat yourself up. That's number one. You got to learn to forgive yourself, number one. And number two, you can be at the right place and at the right time, but not have the right opportunity, right? So those three things have to come into play, right? So that's why you want to carve out. That's why at a job, unless you're at a sales job, they're only paying you what they think you're worth. Okay, it's never going to be enough. All right, they're going to pay you based upon what they think that piece of paper is worth, right? That's somebody else telling you that. So if you want to determine what you're worth, well, obviously you have to increase your value, right? And you have to get into an opportunity that there's no ceiling. Obviously when it's working for somebody else, eventually, even if they can't, let's say it's selling cars and you sell more cars than the actual GM, well, they're going to restructure the plan. I promise you, if you're doing that, because that doesn't look good. Or the owner of the company, he gets a cut anyway. He or she gets the cut, or they do, whatever like that. But they're going to restructure it. So it's going to be in your own business. Okay. I don't care if you worked a job for 50 years. You are a leader. You're an entrepreneur that's hidden on the inside, right? You just need a little kick, like mama bird kick the baby out. When the baby gets too big for the nest, right? The baby can fly and everything like that. It was like, all right, boop, time to go. Okay. So in closing, guys, let me kind of do a quick recap. So persistence plus experimentation. Once you do that, after a while, it'll multiply. Your results will multiply, right? You'll find the right approach. Always tell yourself there is a way that it can be done. Okay. There is a way. Belief attracts, right? Solutions. Because of the mind, right? Your mind is a supercomputer, okay? So don't forget the crap that you're listening to. I'm not politically correct, whether it be music, hanging around the wrong people, looking at the wrong things. It's affecting you, right? It's limiting your potential, right? Your dormant power, okay? I'm 100% convinced that the majority of people that I run into, including myself, the real person or the real man, woman, And obviously child is still trapped on the inside, okay, just because of the society that we live in, the government mentality that we have of this democratic republic and what it's based on. I'm telling you, see, we're miseducated, okay? We're miseducated on purpose, right? Because when you dumb down a population, you keep them stupid, right? You can take advantage of them. All you got to do is hire people and tell them this is what you need to do, A through Z, nothing else, and you can control people. So what I'm telling you to do is laying a foundation how to empower yourself. That's what I'm all about. Why? Because people empowered me. So I'm passing along some of these principles, these laws that I've laid out here. So I'm done. You guys have a great, great night. Let me see if I forgot anything. So write your vision down, write it in detail, put some pictures on it, put it everywhere so your brain can see it. Obviously, you got to make a decision, change your environment, and watch your value increase. And therefore, as I said before, and I'll keep saying it again, your future is not ahead of you. I'm telling you, the vision that was already implanted into you, it's already done in the unseen. You just got to bring it into the seen realm, the natural realm, okay? It's trapped on the inside of you, and you got to get it in the right environment. You have to get it in the right environment. A seed does not grow on the ground, the bathroom tile floor, the kitchen floor, counter. It doesn't grow in the refrigerator, in a cup. That seed must be put in the right environment. So that's what you are. That's what I am. Put your seed in the right environment. I just gave you about 25 minutes of principles, values, laws, and you can apply that to any area. Start small, but think big. Expand your thinking, right? Shoot for the sun, but man, so what if you hit the moon or you hit a star, right? You're so far along, okay? Do this now. Start working on this now. Make a decision now. Because in 6 months, it's going to pass by, whether you do anything or not. So my question to you is do you want to be in the same spot you are physically, not mentally? Because mentally, you're either growing or you're dying, right? You may think that plant that's in your house that you haven't watered in 3 weeks, a month or something like that, and it looks great on the outside, but it starts dying from the inside slowly, okay? You can tell a lot about a person by looking them in the eye, okay? If they still have it, if they're still there, right? So I'm done. You guys have a great night. And I will be back next week, 7 p.m., same bat time, same bat channel. And sometimes I like hopping on here in the middle and just dropping some nuggets. Feel free. I don't even know if I activated the live chat, but feel free if you have any questions or anything like that. Like you like me to get into or talk about or ask and everything, I will definitely answer them the best of my ability. Okay. And if not, I can find the answer. Okay. So get empowered, use that power, use that ability to help out not just yourself by helping yourself, but help other people by helping yourself. Okay. Let me say it another way. To empower other people, impact other people positively, you have to learn laws and principles to impact yourself by adding value to yourself and the things you have to do, right? Developing those habits. And by doing so, you're automatically, by default, you're going to attract other people. And let me give you a quick tip before I get out of here. People aren't attracted to you. They're attracted to your gift. Okay? That's why a lot of people who are rich, maybe someone committed suicide or because man will turn on you, and you've seen it through people like Michael Jackson and other things like that, right? They're all patting you on the back one day and the next day they want to crucify you, right? But remember, separate you from your talent and ability. So as you master that one talent, do it one at a time. It could take you it's probably going to take you years to do it. Whatever it is, poetry, music, whatever that thing that is already on the inside of you that's hungering to come out, okay? Separate that. That way, when you understand that when people do attack you, eventually, right? That's how it happens in success in life. Most people are against you, that you're crazy, this don't make any sense. But as you stay with it, Right? Try, fail, and adjust. Persistence plus experimentation, right? Saying that there is a way, right? Saying it's not based upon luck. Luck is just opportunity and preparedness. And then you hit it. You hit that level of success, right? Don't pat yourself on the back. Say thank you. This is awesome. Move to the next level, right? Grow to the next level. And when they do attack you, remember, separate yourself in your mind from the talent and ability that you were given, and then yourself, and you won't get hurt. Have a good night.